When one thinks of spirits wandering around a haunted cemetery, one typically pictures it happening in the dead of night, with not another living soul in sight. But every once in a while, a spirit is so restless, so full of energy, that it decides to make a special appearance in broad daylight, as it did for one young man in Savannah, Georgia.
Hold on.
On New Year's Eve 2008, while on Christmas vacation from school, Jesse Greathouse was visiting family in Savannah, Georgia. Hailing from Akron, Ohio, Jesse was excited to see all of the historical sites Savannah had to offer, starting with the Colonial Park Cemetery. It's the oldest cemetery in Savannah, and allegedly, one of the most haunted. Jesse, a skeptical 17-year-old at the time, was filming the cemetery with his video camera when he suddenly caught this. Could it be a ghost?
This kid seemed very bright. He was very fluorescent. He caught my eye and I zoomed in on him and he kept running. I just couldn't take my eyes off him. My heart was kind of pounding. It's like you're in a suspense of all. You're just focused on the moment. I'm just watching through this camera and I'm like, what is this? I thought he disappeared. Then I'm like, what in the world happened? And that's when we saw it. Looks like the kid jumped up in the tree. You can see his aura, how he goes around the tree, comes back over, jumps off into this white mass, and then it disappears.
Hold on.
And what's really weird about all of it is that these people are just walking by and they don't notice anything.
This is a great video. It's really clear. We see this boy, we can tell it's a small child, but it seems to be completely featureless. Everything seems to be a kind of a translucent whitish. There doesn't seem to be any difference in color between clothing, hair, skin. So it looks like your archetypical kind of ghost image.
Looks like he's jumping into the tree and then falls down. But when he does, it seems as if his shape changes. He's no longer the form of the boy. It's almost like he's morphing into something else. Any video that we come across, we have to hold to the same standards. When talking about something like legitimacy, does this pass the test? All we can say is that in this video, something was captured.
This was actually captured in 2008. It was a lot more difficult to edit video footage. So it's my assumption that this video is 100% real and uncut and not edited in any way.
Hold on.
He's part of a very, very small club of people who have had these sort of what I consider legit experiences.
And if you're wondering why a child's ghost would be haunting an old cemetery in Savannah, Georgia, look no further than the area's troubled, war-torn past.
If we're going to assume that paranormal activity is the residue of lives that were lost tragically, there's probably no better place to look for them than a place like Savannah.
Savannah has a deep-rooted paranormal history. It's part of their culture, it's part of who they are. So there's less of a surprise when it happens.
But remember, Jesse was not a Savannah resident and had never witnessed something like this before. And while he has been more open to the paranormal since capturing the video, the impact of the ghostly activity has never left him.
I think as a kid, I didn't really understand what I had. It just seems like it's unbelievable. To this day, it's still kind of, every time I watch it, it kind of makes my heart drop just a little bit,
I can't imagine being 17 and filming something like this. I know I was 17 looking for something like this, but to actually see it, record it, and be able to show other people, that must be a pretty magical feeling.
What I got was once in a lifetime jewel. There is something else out there that we don't really understand.
At mental health care facilities of the past, physicians armed only with the knowledge of the time attempted to diagnose and appropriately treat those who were believed to have gone mad. With their ill-informed and perhaps unintentional mistreatment of so many patients, however, they may have inadvertently unleashed a terrifying echo through time, one that still manifests through the halls of some abandoned asylums, even today. And John Edmonds believes he has captured the proof.
The Overbrook Insane Asylum was built in 1896 as the Essex County, New Jersey Asylum for the Insane.
In the 1940s and 50s, it was peak capacity. I mean, like thousands and thousands of people were sent to this facility. And as we know about mental health in this country, we always haven't been the best at diagnosing people's issues or treating them humanely.
In the end, they were just kind of throwing everybody in there for no reason at all. People that had strokes, they didn't know what to do with them. They put them in this institution.
There were also cases of abuse and neglect, and even people freezing to death in their cots during one winter.
Like 10,000 people have died at this hospital because it was open for so long and because people, would get sick in these conditions. There is a specific tunnel system underneath the entire hospital that takes you from building to building because they didn't want their patients to see how many people were dying a day, so that they would gurney them underground to the morgue.
Overbrook was abandoned by the 1990s. When they abandoned it, they just left everything. And there were never, ever any medical records kept. If they were just tossed when everything was abandoned.
These places are known for trauma, and these places are known for, really just some horrific medical studies that we did on some of our more mentally ill people. So I think that makes it a perfect place for paranormal activity to occur.
That was the thought process of John Edmonds, a resident of Mount Olive, New Jersey, when he and his friend Vincent decided to visit the Overbrook several years ago.
My name is John Edmonds, and I shot the video. My friend Vincent and I, we enjoyed charting the forbidden and unknown exploration zones throughout the Garden State of New Jersey, and one of these locations was the Essex County Hospital located in Verona, Cedar Grove, New Jersey. On one afternoon, my friend Vincent and I, we were traversing through the main hallway, which connected the long array of buildings. I recall he picked up something, and he threw it in one direction, and then his face just changed. So my whole body turns with the camera too, and I just see like some little figure in the dark, in the distance. Didn't really know what it was, and then it just starts moving. Gosh! And that was my cue to just get out of there, and I just basically just ran the other way. Gosh!
These two dudes, they're in there, they're looking for ghosts, but what they found was sort of like a spider-human hybrid crawling on the ground. Something just there living in this former insane asylum.
It has this creepy, crawly, weird exorcist scene vibe. I mean, it's either Anara from The Ring meets the girl from The Exorcist, and it's like running at you on all fours, backwards, twisted. I don't know what it's doing.
I found this video particularly disturbing because I have been in that hallway personally. If I had seen this creature, whatever it is, it's terrifying. I can't imagine how much more frightening it would be if I were standing there and saw this thing running down the hallway toward me.
My friend Vincent, he's a big believer of ghosts, while myself, I'm a little reserved. I'm a very realistic person, so I really try to process things to really understand what they are, but that day, seeing that, who knows, whatever it was, it's just unexplainable.
It vaguely looks like a creature known as the Rake, which is a very slender, very tall, gangly-looking creature, often described as being white or a pale skin color.
Nobody's quite sure whether it's a rake, it's an animal or a spirit or a demon of some kind. I say that because this doesn't seem to be human, although it seems to have 2 arms and 2 legs. I would like to see any human move the way this thing did. It sort of walks, I guess, like a crab or a spider. Obviously, our arms are shorter than our legs, so if we're down on all 4s, our hips are going to be higher. This seems very flat to the ground and moving quite quickly and almost in a menacing way.
I never went alone after that day. I can tell you that. I never went exploring alone after that.
If you're visiting a local brewery, chances are you're doing it for one reason, and one reason only: to drink its beer. But the next time you're trying to decide between an IPA or a porter, it might be worth your while to put that pint glass down for a moment and take a closer look around the premises. Because some brewery spaces weren't always used for breweries, and you never know who or what might be watching from above. In March of 2018, the Atwater Brewery in Detroit, Michigan, which was once a church, hosted the team from Detroit Paranormal for a special event. They wanted to brew their own paranormal-themed beer, and they brought along a news film crew to shoot the process.
Hi, my name is Alex Atwell, and I'm the one who filmed the video. I was there with the Detroit Paranormal Expeditions, and they were at Atwater Brewery, which is a former church that they brew beer in now.
Hi, my name is Todd Bonner, and I took part in this video. Alex was part of a local news team that came out to film us.
Ready? Go.
We were making a paranormal-themed beer, probably the only one in Detroit, maybe the only one in the world, called Hello from the Other Side. So as we went to the brewery to meet with the brewer, we talked to some of the employees, and they were telling us some of the paranormal experiences they were having.
Some employees that, get nervous at night, that don't want to go downstairs, and little things that are happening. So they kind of believe that it does have a history and that it is haunted.
Curiosity piqued, they set up a spirit box to see if they could make some kind of contact with any entities that may be nearby.
How many spirits are with us tonight in this building? Can you give me a number, please?
The employees really didn't have an explanation, and we did get a lot of response up in the bar area where the church actually was, where the congregation would sit.
They did pick up a few potential entities with the machine.
Tell us how many spirits are here with us right now.
But the most spectacular discovery came a few days later.
It was when I was going through to edit pieces of the story together is when I saw something I had never seen before on video.
Watch the right side of the screen closely. Watch again in slow motion as an apparition seemed to fly into Alex's frame before disappearing into thin air.
When Alex sent me the video, I was pretty shocked because I had never seen anything like that before. And Alex has been doing this for over, I think, 16 years as a cinematographer. And he's never seen nothing like that. And he went over and over it and tried to debunk everything he possibly could. He's not a paranormal guy at all. So this was all new to him.
Whatever it was above us. And then it looks like it sprout wings. And I had never seen anything like that before.
It seems to be a light color, but I couldn't say whether it's a living creature or a spiritual thing.
At first, I'm thinking this could have been a bird, but why does it just dissipate in the middle of the shot? It didn't fly up to a banner. It flew halfway across your shot and then just kind of disappeared.
It seems to fade away almost right before your eyes. So that eliminates bird, that eliminates bat, that eliminates some animal being in the brewery.
I saved the video and I sent it out to a couple of psychics that I know around the United States and just to get different opinions on it. One of the psychics said it was like a protector of that church, like something that's always been there, a good presence, looking over the church.
In churches, there's a lot of really positive energy because, it's a lot of prayer, ritual, whatever, all of that just kind of raises the positive vibes inside of a building like that. So whether that was an angel or not, I think that it might be a protective spirit.
And if you're thinking that a brewery is the last place one might encounter an angelic presence, think again.
Booze and the church have a long relationship. So it's not unusual to see angelic things like this inside of a church, especially now that it's a brewery. I mean, if you think all the way back to the Middle Ages, the Trappist monks of Belgium, France, Germany, they were the official brewmasters of the church. They've been drinking beer instead of water for a long, long time. Here you have a brew house inside of a church. So I think that whether there is a residual angel watching over the building, that could be possible. But I also think that the accumulated energy of the people that used to worship there also sticks around. So when you have now a lively environment, people are drinking beer, it's not an unholy communion to get together there and drink libations and things of that sort. I think that it actually creates like a perfect storm for a haunt, you know? And if it's for angels, so be it.
Could it be a ghost? Could it be an angel? You know, we're in the church with all that history. And yeah, I mean, it was just trying to figure out what it was. And I couldn't find an explanation of what it could be.
I still can't explain it. I went over it and over it, and I sent it out to other people to get their opinions about it, and no one can explain it. So I feel it's a legitimate paranormal experience that he caught on camera.
Maybe you know someone who unequivocally does not believe in ghosts. Maybe that someone simply cannot be convinced, no matter the quality or quantity of evidence. Maybe that someone is you. What would it take to change your mind? Hypothetically, what kind of paranormal event must you personally witness? Does it even exist? For Kent Burris, his tipping point was choosing to rent a home in New England with a specific history.
Son of a...
Burris, originally from Compton, California, moved with his wife into a house in Carmel, Maine in 2014 with the intention of semi-retiring.
My name is Kent Burris, and I filmed the video. When we first moved into this house, there are some strange things going on in the house. Sounds in the house, voices, but I kind of had logical explanations on those things. There's people that told my son, who lived here at the time, that, hey, you know what, you need to be careful in that house. There's a ghost in it, and it's haunted. My son told me about it, and I laughed at him, but then he did see a shadow apparition appear in his room. I said, Joshua, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm sorry. 2 years went by. There was a night where I was in bed sleeping, and I heard a female voice say, help me. And my back was turned to the closet in the bedroom, and I spun around and looked. There's nobody there. My wife was in bed next to me. I laid back down, and then I felt a tap on my hip, and the female voice again said, help me, Kent. Nobody was there. And it felt like there was a presence inside the room. So that's when I started taking a closer look into the strange activities in this house.
In 2018, Kent finally took it upon himself to start documenting the unusual activity he was experiencing in his home.
I was downstairs sitting in the living room, and I did hear some sounds coming up from my bedroom.
I just heard some talking.
Hello? I can hear faint talking. I go up to investigate it. Well, while the camera's going,
somebody up here? What the hell is that noise?
And when I opened up the door and came around the corner,
son of a...
It was so unexpected that it just kind of shocked me in the moment.
Out of all the videos I've seen so far, this is the first time the hair in the back of my neck stood up. And that doesn't usually happen to me a lot. But I was like, oh my.
The shadow was in such close proximity to him, it almost looked like it was about to tap him on the shoulder if he hadn't spun around at that instant. That is a terrifying little sequence. You can tell he's terrified too.
Son of a...
When your haunts start to happen, it starts off kind of light, you know, with knocking and whispering sounds, things of that sort. And If you're not responding, then maybe it's going to try to manifest in a visual way to get your attention.
I think this is definitely a shadow figure that's haunting him. He never really sought out the paranormal. He never believed in any of these things. And then now all of a sudden this is happening. There's a chance that he manifested this thing over time, and now it's starting to show itself.
I think it has mostly to do with the intention of the apparition. Apparitions choose to be seen. They choose us to experience them or perceive them and go, you know what? Here's a guy that we can talk to. Here's a guy that will hear us. Somebody saying, help me because I don't understand what's happening, and you're the only one that seems to be able to hear me.
Because spirits don't have a physical body that we're aware of, one might think, well, how can they feel pain if they don't have a body? But so many of them say, help me, I need help. That torment could be of a spiritual nature. Their hell could be entirely generated by themselves, and the help they need sometimes can come only from themselves.
I've captured this apparition many times. In fact, we nicknamed him Shadow Dude. And I never get the impression that he's evil, it's just scary. I mean, when you come around a corner and he's just standing there looking at you, it's pretty scary.
But why is it in the house in the first place?
The history of this house, the front section was actually an old school building from what we gathered back in the early 1800s. Edmund Lamb purchased the building from the school district. Now, back in those days, they would hold funerals at people's homes. When laws changed, Edmund had to set this up as a funeral home for health reasons. This was the original funeral home in Carmel, Maine. In my opinion, based on the paranormal activity I've come across, this house has kind of been a safe haven for some of these ghosts. If something grabbed a hold of me and slammed me up against the wall or threw me down the steps, it's all over with. We're gone. But it takes a lot of that fear away that whatever this is, it does not attack. This is a phenomenon that's very amazing and very real, but it's not doing anything to physically harm us.
If I'm him, I'm sleeping on the couch. I am not going back into that bedroom anytime soon. If I am in the bedroom, I'm keeping all the lights on, no shadows around.
I don't ever turn this frickin' light out. I leave this light on because of certain reasons like this. We sleep with the TV on going all night. We sleep with the fan going on all night. We have to create some type of noise because the sounds in the house and the voices wake us up.
And all this activity has inspired Kent to take a rather unusual step.
I want to buy it to preserve the history of this house. I don't necessarily want to buy it to continue to live in it, but to preserve it as a historical site. Try to bring it back to how it looked back in those days when Edmund Lamb used it as a funeral home. Probably set it up more like a museum.
By their very nature, quiet, dusty, and filled to the brim with stories, fact and fiction, libraries lend themselves to ghostly activity, whether residual or intelligent. And if anecdotal evidence is any guide, the Leeds Library in Leeds, England, may fit the bill as the most haunted of the bunch. Its notorious reputation compelled Sean Reynolds to visit the library in July of 2017, an experience which he'll remember forever.
What the hell?
The Leeds Library was first founded in 1768, but it didn't open its doors until the early 1800s. This is one of the oldest standing brick and mortar libraries in all of England.
Since at least 1844, people have reported seeing and apparitions and having paranormal experiences there.
A lot of the haunts there are assumed to be residual haunts, mostly from librarians that have worked there their whole lives. They're still working there. They're still organizing these books. They're still protecting the information that this library has.
But one curious Liverpudlian named Sean Reynolds wanted to find out if those haunts were coming from the spirit of one particular librarian.
My name's Sean Reynolds and I filmed the video at Leeds Library. There was a head librarian there called Vincent Sternberg, and it's believed that it's his ghost that's haunting the building. He had a very tragic accident with gunpowder and had some very horrific injuries, and he died. Now, the staff that work inside of the library, they believe they've seen this guy, and he's been seen over multiple years. Books were flying off the shelves, banging noises were being heard, and people kept thinking they saw the figure of some strange entity walking and lurking around the building.
It's like a labyrinth of books. You just don't know from one turn to the next what you're going to hear, what you're going to feel.
As I was walking around, it felt like somebody was following me, and everywhere I was going, the noises were following me.
I heard a voice then, like a lady's voice.
When you feel like somebody's looking at you, when you start feeling the hair on the back of your neck.
I heard a voice then, like a lady's voice.
That's not from a residual haunt. That's from an energy that can feel you back.
And when Sean entered a specific room of the library, things truly took a turn for the terrifying.
I was following the noises into different rooms, and that's when I came upon a loud banging noise.
Is that you tapping on one of the bookshelves? Hello?
They opened the door. When I went inside, the noises were louder and the banging was louder.
What the hell?
And then, suddenly...
I'm sure I saw an orb. No! No way!
The library ladder apparently moved by itself, thoroughly freaking Sean out.
Whoa, what the hell?
What's interesting about this is that the top of the ladder seems to be doing the moving. I looked at this from a skeptic's view and I figured, okay, there could be someone just below the frame pushing it. But if that were so, the bottom of the ladder would be the one doing the leading. In this case, the top of the ladder moved first, showing that the force enacted upon the ladder came from the top.
I mean, that's a real interesting capture. You know, it's a big room. It's an old library. There's a lot of stories. Who knows when you're setting up a camera what to look at? So I think they were really lucky they got this motion that they did.
I didn't expect the ladder was going to move. I thought that maybe a book was moving or something was going to fall off the shelf.
It's one of these books.
That's when I saw the ladder moving, and I just couldn't believe it. My instant reaction was, whoa.
No!
You know, I'm in this room and the door was actually near the ladder. I needed to, in my escape route, if there was something in there, it was quite short. So it was a bit scary, it was intense. It wasn't until after the event I started to put the pieces together, and perhaps this was Sternberg making himself known to me.
I'm sure I saw that move. I'm sure this moved.
Maybe people that spend their whole lives in libraries have nowhere else to go. I mean, if they don't really pass on to wherever they go, they might just want to hang around in familiar settings.
In Mr. Sternberg's case, a former employee who had a great tie to this library is just coming in and making sure that something that he holds dear in his heart is being taken well care of.
I think that's my cue to get out of here.
It always amazes me when these people go in to a place looking for a ghost, and then as soon as they see one, they flee the scene. It's like, this is what you came for. Enjoy it.
Despite being spooked by his initial experience, Sean is already planning his return visit.
There's an active haunting in Leeds Library. There's a spirit that knows it's there. It may be Vincent, but it doesn't want to have its personal space invaded. And I think that's why it follows people around.
An orb. No! No way!
Old abandoned buildings sometimes seem to take on lives of their own. And one never knows what entities might lurk in the empty spaces inside. Paranormal investigators enter such places at their own risk, all for the chance of a close encounter with the spirit world. But when one amateur ghost hunter in Saudi Arabia entered a supposedly haunted mansion, he got way more than he bargained for. In the winter of 2019, Saudi ghost hunter Alaa Ghanem approaches an allegedly haunted house in the Saudi Arabian countryside. Armed with nothing other than a camera and his faith in a higher power, he gathers up his courage and enters the building alone. Almost immediately, Alaa senses a heavy presence.
Assalamu alaikum.
And then, as he stands in the empty living room, he suddenly hears something. The sound of footsteps coming from the second floor. Excited, Alaa rushes towards the sounds, hoping to capture something paranormal on camera. But the closer he gets, the more freaked out he becomes. Could the entity haunting the house be a jinn?
Bismillah. Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman. A'udhu billah min ash-shaytan ar-rajim.
Here we have, in a completely different culture from our Western norms, someone in the Islamic world doing urban exploration and looking into rumors of hauntings and spirits. But over there, instead of ghosts, most likely the belief is that jinn haunt this location.
A jinn in the Muslim religion is sort of this entity that never was alive. It's sort of in between an angel and a human. And for the most part, they tend to be malicious.
As Alaa walks deeper and deeper into the house, the jinn, or whatever it is, seems to sense his fear and toy with him.
حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل فيك.
But it's too late to turn back.
If you are going to investigate a location and your mindset is one that is of terror, it's probably not a great idea because you're going to be attracting a lot more negative energy.
بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء.
At this point, Alaa is beyond freaked out.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم.
Panicked, he begins to move through the house like a crazy man, taunting the entity.
من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه.
Everywhere he goes, whatever this is seems to be evading him, toying with him almost. So if I were him, I probably would get out of town before things got dangerous.
But Alaa senses this jinn is close and has come too far to give in now.
بسم الله. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم.
Then, as he approaches the very center of the house,
ولا يؤوده حفظهما. وهو العلي العظيم. بسم الله.
He's capturing movement of what looks like to be this giant, like, steel cistern that rolls on its own, like if somebody kicked it.
Typically, it's very difficult for a spirit to move something physically, so that must mean that the activity in that house is not just one person or spirit, but multiple spirits, or if it is one spirit, it's like powerful, like majorly powerful.
Bismillah, Bismillah.
The power of this entity proves to be too much for Alaa. He gets out of Dodge, never to return. Alaa has learned his lesson. Beware the evil djinn. There's nothing quite like a relaxing afternoon of antiquing, but be warned. Certain entities have a habit of latching on to some of these old objects from time to time. And if you specifically go after relics that are creepy and macabre, well, you're practically inviting these troublesome spirits into your home. Such was the experience of one collector in Milwaukee, and she will never forget it. In spring of 2019, Sherry Esperon was being plagued by mysterious noises throughout her home. There were disembodied voices, footsteps, and things falling off shelves. Suspecting it might have something to do with her collection of ghoulish relics in the basement, she and a friend set up a video camera to see if they could catch anything out of the ordinary. They put the camera here, in front of this clock on the mantle, and next to this motion-activated doll to the right. Then, they left the room. That creepy voice you just heard belongs to the motion-activated doll. Remember, there is no one in the room. When Sherry returned to the room a short while later, she reviewed the footage and was shocked.
I'm Sherry Esperon, and I recorded the video at my home. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe it, but more than anything, I was pretty excited because it kind of gave a little credence to the stories I'd been telling, of things that I was hearing and seeing and feeling in the basement. I've always been interested in the weird and macabre, the oddities, and I decided to recreate my basement into an oddities room and started collecting items from estate sales, flea markets.
It was at that point that the strange occurrences in her home began.
We would hear walking around. I've had voices come up and whisper "Mom" in my ear. I always just chalked that off to overactive imagination. But when things started falling and breaking, I needed an answer.
And the clearest message that Sherry received from the ghosts attached to the objects came from the creepy, talking doll.
When the doll goes, "I'm watching you," and giggles. I mean, that was crazy.
And the fact that the doll's motion sensors went off is proof that something was in the room.
I mean, that is like pretty awesome because these motion sensors, they don't really know how to lie. They sense motion or they don't.
There was a force of some kind, living or dead, in that room that had to set off that motion-sensitive doll.
It seems that it is possible for a spirit or entity to set off a motion detector. I've seen many investigations where one of these devices are actually triggered by an unseen force that a lot of people assume is a spirit.
And about that framed butterfly plaque.
The butterflies were purchased at an estate sale. There were hundreds upon thousands of butterflies at this estate sale. You could definitely say that whoever had those butterflies loved them and they could still be attached to them.
And upon closer inspection, it seemed as though there was someone or something attached to it. Watch closely as a shadow seems to cross the room before and just after the framed butterflies falls off the wall.
What really bothers me, intrigues me, excites me, is that you can actually tell it goes behind and in front of the chair.
At first, I thought the shadow was just somebody walking behind the camera. But thankfully, and to the credit of the people taking the video, they give you a 360 view of the room. So for the skeptics who go, okay, I know what that is, you see that there's really not a lot of space for someone to be there. And there's no light source that's casting in such a way to create such a shadow. So if the logical reason is not the correct one, we have to consider that, all right, maybe it was supernatural.
And just to make sure that what they caught on camera was legitimately paranormal, Sherry and her friend conducted a few tests.
Smack the cabinet.
What I really like about this video is they actually go through the steps to try to debunk some of the activity that they captured. They poke the doll. They actually slap the picture on the wall, trying to see if any of these things are faulty and maybe it could fall down.
I'm still trying to find a way to disprove it because it's pretty unbelievable.
Though still not quite a believer, Sherry has come to terms with what might be happening in her basement.
I will probably continue to still try to find a rational reason for the video. I'm comfortable with it, though it doesn't scare me. Now that I've yelled and stomped and said, quit breaking my stuff has stopped breaking. So at least that's a positive.
If it was me, I would be afraid. I really wouldn't want to just have this thing hanging around my house. I might get rid of all the creepy stuff in my basement, or maybe try and just get rid of it through other means.
There's a belief that spirits are particularly attracted to babies because they are vulnerable and open to otherworldly energy. This can lead to haunting, paranormal activity, or in one case, something even more terrifying. An entity determined to lift this baby out of his crib. One morning in 2019, Becky Moss and her husband woke up in their Oxford, Michigan home and did what they always do before getting out of bed. Looked at their baby monitor to check in on their 2-year-old son asleep in his crib. But what they saw instead was so bizarre that they immediately began to film it on their phone. There was what appeared to be an orb hovering above the baby as he slept. But what happened next terrified them. When someone or something began tugging on the baby's leg. First one, and then the other.
My name is Becky Moss. I clicked on the monitor and just saw something weird. So it really just was, the more we watched it, the more freaked out we got.
Becky and her husband immediately sprang into action.
We ran in his room and I had the video monitor with me and he waved his hand around the area, around the monitor, for any dust or bugs or cobwebs or anything like that. And it was still on the monitor, but you couldn't see anything with the naked eye. And eventually it just kind of disappeared off the screen.
This is straight out of a horror movie. If I'm the parents and I'm watching this, I am freaking out immediately and bringing that kid out of whatever room they're in and into my room.
In this video, you can clearly see this toddler's leg appears to be lifting on its own. Now, I know that children are little tiny acrobats, so they can lift their legs and arms in weird ways, but this almost seems beyond the abilities of this child to do.
But if the baby wasn't lifting his legs himself, who was? Could there be a spirit attached to the orb?
This orb seems to be dancing around the crib. And at first I thought maybe it was a flashlight. Maybe it was someone off to the side flashing a light into the crib. And then the baby seems to be lifted, like the orb grabs its leg and lifts him up to say, hey, what's going on? Now, is this an attack on the baby? I don't know, but whatever it is, it seems to coincide with the movement of that orb.
And if it was the orb lifting the baby's legs, the questions must be asked. Who is the entity behind the orb? And what does it want? with this innocent baby.
We are all over here believers in the supernatural and spirits and all of that stuff, so we definitely don't think that people just go away. I do think that possibly things stay around, people stay around, all that stuff.
I've heard all kinds of stories about children being visited or even messed with in their crib by spirits or whatever you want to call these things. And that maybe what we're seeing here is maybe a deceased grandfather or something like that came to visit the child. Why he would lift him up by his leg, I don't know, but that certainly seems to be some sort of strange activity going on here.
I would love to believe that whatever was messing with this baby is a young spirit from that family or related to that family in some way that was checking in.
You can only speculate why this thing, this orb, wants to lift this baby up. You don't really know what a ghost thinks.
Unnerved by what had happened, but eager to share the experience, Becky posted the footage online.
After the video was put online for our friends and family, it kind of blew up and had a lot of people messaging us.
And with thousands of hits came a multitude of theories.
It really didn't matter what other people were saying because it happened to us.
Regardless of all the feedback, Becky and her husband have their own thoughts on the matter.
We want to obviously believe that whatever it was is good and harmless, but we definitely both have the same beliefs as to, it's not a negative energy, we don't want to disturb anything like that.
I think any parent watching this video would be concerned until you introduce yourself and say, "Hi, I'm here. This is who I am. I mean you no harm." Going straight to the raising of the leg is a red flag.
There has been no other activity since that night, but Becky and her husband remain cautious and watchful, just in case.
Parenting is hard enough without having your kid's room be haunted. I mean, my goodness, there's no parenting book for that.